So now, statement 23. Statement 23 of chapter 4. And again, this chapter on bodhisattva training. Here it's talking about, in the last statement, right, Jigten Sumgon points to what is at the heart, at the core of the practice of accumulating merit, specifically accumulating merit in terms of the practice of giving, the practice of generosity. So the practice of giving or generosity is mainly said to be the practice that takes us to the first bhumi, the first bodhisattva bhumi, which is the bhumi called joyful, the first ground called joyful. So it's primarily through the practice of giving or generosity that we reach this stage called joyful. So one very popular text for studying about these 10 stages, one of them is the Madhyamaka text by Dharmakirti, called the Entrance to the Middle Way, not Mula, but Madhyamaka Avatara, where he briefly goes over the 10 bhumis, the 10 stages. Mostly is the sixth one that he gives the most attention. That's the one on prajna, or wisdom. Anyway, if you want an easy source, to look at, to have an idea, then Introduction to the Middle Way has been translated into English as Introduction to the Middle Way by Chandakirti. And so in this text, he talks about the stage called joyful and how you arrive at the first stage. And mainly it is through the practice of giving or generosity. And so here in the last statement, Vajra statement we looked at, Kyobpa Rinpoche says how if we know how to skillfully possess, kind of take the things that exist in this world, take them all and say, this is mine. And then after that, give them away. That is a very skillful way of gathering merit, gathering the bringing together, right? And the vast amount of merit that is necessary for attaining Buddhahood. And also, it's not just, then from the statement, the 20, it says that, in fact, the gathering of merit should never be separated from the gathering of wisdom. These two should be done in a unified way. And so here, right, this kind of taking everything and saying, mine, and then offering. So the knowing how to skillfully take it and then to let go, that is related to wisdom. The ability to let go and to give, to benefit others with what we give, that is the gathering of merit. And so it's the gathering of merit and wisdom inseparable. So that's 22. Now 23, Kyobpa Rinpoche talks about the practice of dedication. 23 and 24 pertains to this very important practice that we do called dedicating merit. So in elsewhere, Kyobpa Rinpoche says, if you really think about it, he says, the fact that we have been circling and wandering in samsaric existence for so long, and how long is so long? So long is since time without beginning. And so if since time without beginning we have been wandering in samsaric existence, surely we have also accumulated so much merit So much merit we have already accumulated. But then the trouble with that is the merit that we have accumulated, instead of properly dedicating them, you could say, instead of banking them in the right bank, we have been squandering. We have been wasting all this merit. Either wasting in terms of spending them on frivolous things, useless things, or put it in the wrong bank so that the returns are very little. Instead, you can think of dedication as banking all this merit into the universal bank of the Buddhists. What is this universal bank of the Buddhists? This universal bank of the Buddha, of the Buddhas in the plural, they are the bank whose purpose is to bring complete and ultimate benefit to all sentient beings. So that all sentient beings who have become Buddhas in the past, they have become Buddhas in part because of being able to withdraw from this universal Buddha bank of merit. And all those who are achieving Buddhahood now, in the present moment, or on the brink of achieving Buddhahood, wherever they are, in whatever world system that they are in part, they are able to do that because they have access to this universal Buddha bank. And all Buddhas that will come in the future will also arise due to the ability to be able to withdraw from this universal Buddha bank. So in that sense, if you think about making dedication, whenever we deposit into this universal Buddha bank, when we make this dedication, and this dedication has to be dedicated to the right thing, which is the Buddhahood of all beings. When we deposit into this bank, then we have become part of the interdependence of others achieving Buddhahood. Whether now, in other world systems, or in the future, in this or other world systems. And so this act of banking into the universal Buddha bank is a very important and necessary thing that we have to do. And so Kyobpa Rinpoche said that the fact that we have not yet ourselves become Buddhas is because we don't know how to dedicate this merit. We have wasted all this merit. Wasted on what? Wasted on mundane things. Mundane things, of course, not from the perspective of mundane things. It's not that mundane things are bad. It's not saying that. You want good health. You want to not have to worry too much about your health, not have to worry too much about your finances, not to have to worry too much about this and that. So in that sense, we do practices and we say, oh, may I be free from illness. Oh, may I be free from poverty. Oh, may I be free from unexpected things, all of that. That is, from the perspective of achieving Buddhahood, kind of a way of squandering our merit. So we have to be careful, how we are accidentally dedicating merit, or accidentally, so dedicating means, in this case, accidentally withdrawing for frivolous purposes. And using it for frivolous purposes. Oh, I wish, I hope, After we do some practice, we say, please, no rain this Saturday. I have something very important planned. What you have planned is like a family gathering, It's like, that's frivolous compared to the ability of this merit to help beings achieve Buddhahood. This party, this Saturday, is no need, for you to use your merit in that way. And so Kyobpa Rinpoche said, the fact that we're not Buddhas yet, from one perspective, is because we have squandered away merit. Yeah. So here in these two Vajra statements, he's going to address how do we dedicate merit. So statement 23, dedicate the accumulated and inherent virtues of all of samsara and nirvana. So this is dedicate the accumulated and inherent virtues of all of samsara and nirvana. So let's look at Khenpo Kunpal's commentary. One should mentally gather. So like the last one, mentally take possession of everything and then offer. Now, mentally gather all the merit that has arisen. So here it says, one should mentally gather all the accumulated and inherent virtues. And so here, instead of merit, the word uses virtues. Gather all the accumulated and inherent virtues of all sentient beings of samsara and the noble ones of nirvana, all the virtues of yourself and others, and dedicate them for the attainment of omniscience. In other words, Buddhahood, for the sake of others. So may this merit go towards my attainment of Buddhahood for the benefit of others. The manner of this is mentioned in the 10th dedication of Vajra Dwaja. Vajra Dwaja is a sutra. So there it says, all the virtues that all beings have, and so forth. And also it is said in the extensive Transcendent Wisdom Sutra, Shariputra said, Kaushika, it has occurred to me to request that you dedicate all the virtues of the Exalted One from the time he first generated bodhicitta until he taught the Dharma, as well as all the virtues of the bodhisattvas, the hearers, and the self-realized Buddhas for the sake of attaining the level of the Omniscient One. And so here in this quote, one of Buddha's great disciples, Shariputra, said to a fellow disciple called Kaushika, and saying to this Kaushika, that so here what is being taught is like, so this is not even like Kaushika's personal merit per se, right? This is talking about, think of the Buddha's merit. From the time Buddha Shakyamuni first generated bodhicitta, so many, many, many lifetimes ago, think of that merit there. From that all the way, all his bodhisattva trainings and all the merit that has been gathered, think of all of that. And then think of like in this life, when he achieved Buddhahood and he taught the Dharma. And think of all the virtues, the merit of all the bodhisattvas, the hearers, the self-realized Buddhas. Take all of that and dedicate to complete Buddhahood. So here, not only our own merit, the merit and virtue of all beings, if we know how to rejoice in. So this is also teaching that. If we have the ability to genuinely give rise to joy when we think of the virtues and the merit of others, and in particular then the virtues and the merit of all the great beings, the sublime beings, if we can think of that, be happy, rejoice, then we have taken those merit and we can dedicate. So dedication of merit is also a practice of overcoming jealousy. And jealousy is an obstacle to us achieving those things that we are jealous of. And it's very kind of dangerous, because sometimes, or a lot of times our jealousy, has a veneer, a layer of like logic, we're saying, this thing that they are doing, and they're doing just for show. This thing that they are doing, it's not really that beneficial. It is all just for show. It is all meaningless. Sometimes we can even mask our jealousy in that way, instead of really appreciating. We become critical. Then, it's very easy that then this jealousy becomes an obstacle to us achieving those very qualities that we are jealous of. So here, this practice of dedication, has the benefit of teaching us how to overcome jealousy by giving rise to rejoicing, recognizing the good and the virtue that is being created by others, by ourselves, our past selves, our future selves. You can even think of that, and giving rise to joy. And with that joy, with that gladdening of the heart, we dedicate this to the sake of attaining the level of the all-knowing one of Buddhahood. It is said in the Achala Tantra, the merit that I, the Exalted One, have accumulated is incalculable and cannot be measured. This is the Buddha speaking. By this, may all beings without exception attain the unsurpassable level. So this is talking about personal, what you have accumulated, so that what the Buddha has accumulated, he dedicates it to the attainment of the unsurpassable level for all sentient beings. It is said in the Transcendent Wisdom Sutra, Subhuti, the complete dedication is this one that completely dedicates the great Bodhisattva's absolute space of phenomena. So this is even dedicating the Bodhisattva's realization of emptiness, here, absolute space of phenomena. This is the complete, the most thorough dedication. And it is said in the Dense Ornament Sutra, for example, crystals and magnifying glasses have the characteristics of purity. Thus, when they are hit by sun rays, they give off their own light rays. Likewise also, the all-ground consciousness, the Buddha nature, the virtuous element, which is endowed with undefiled qualities, if you dedicate it, the results will ripen. So now this is talking about dedicating what's known as the inherent virtue, or the roots of virtue. Because here the statement says, right? The statement says, dedicate the accumulated and the inherent virtues. So there are two types of virtues. There are the inherent virtues, which is the virtues, the qualities, the merit that exist already, at the level of nature, of Buddha nature. And so those are the inherent virtues. Then also dedicate the accumulated virtues. So we can even think and rejoice in how Buddha nature, this virtuous element, this nature of our mind, have all these Buddha qualities, and dedicate all those Buddha qualities. This all-ground consciousness, depending on context, can either refer to the pure Buddha nature, or can sometimes also be used as a reference to a mix of pure and impure potentials. That is, the potential are the karmic seeds that we have planted, we have put into this store, this base consciousness. So in that context, then, that base consciousness, or the all-ground consciousness, is afflicted. But here, when it says, here when it says the all-ground consciousness, which is Buddha nature, and then here is talking about the completely pure Buddha nature. So it says you also dedicate that. For 24, one also needs to make dedication for the Buddhas and the Gurus. This is a very special. This is a very special instruction from Kyobpa Rinpoche. From one perspective, of course, Buddhists have completely perfected, right? Buddhists have already arrived at the level of complete Buddhahood, so they don't need merit. In that sense, you could say, right? They don't need merit. They have perfected merit. They have perfected wisdom. So why would you dedicate merit to them? Then, in the context of Vajrayana, we are taught to view the Guru as perfect, as Vajradhara, as the union of the Buddhas of past, present, and future. Then we also say, hey, why do we need to dedicate merit to them? And so normally, they'll say, oh, no. We it's not that we don't want to, it's just, not necessary, we don't need to dedicate merit to them. But here Kyobpa Rinpoche says, one also needs to make dedications for, even I would add, to help us understand more what the point here is, even Buddhas and Gurus, we should dedicate merit to. And so in other words, how much more we should dedicate merit to all beings attaining Buddhahood. So of course, when we dedicate to all beings, we are dedicating to them achieving Buddhahood. When we're dedicating to Buddhas and Gurus, then you could say it's not that we're dedicating to them achieving Buddhahood, but we are dedicating to them in a slightly different way. Let's look at the commentary. So the commentary here says, if one makes dedications also for the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, and the glorious Gurus in order for their exalted wishes to be fulfilled and so forth. So what are we dedicating to? What are we dedicating to the Gurus and the Buddhas? To their quick fulfillment of their vows, of their wishes, and so forth. If we do that, so footnote says, one should dedicate one's merit towards the Buddhas with the wish that the past Buddhas' wishes may be fulfilled, the present Buddhas may remain, and the future Buddhas may complete their accumulations of merit and wisdom. That's how we dedicate to Buddhas. And so, of course, this has to do with, again, as a way to be mindful, to not forget the great merit and wisdom of Buddhas. So then we say, I dedicate this merit to the fulfillment of all the vows of the Buddhas of the past. And so then in that way, we participate in the Buddha activities when we dedicate to the Buddhas. So here it says in the commentary, and in this way, we will perfect our accumulations of merit and wisdom, purify our obscurations, and so that we quickly attain awakening. Therefore, one needs to make dedications to them. It is as Shantideva said, may the Bodhisattva's wishes for the benefit of beings be fulfilled. And therefore, Jigten Sumgon said again and again, also after I have passed away, you who are left behind must make dedications for me. So Jigten Sumgon taught this, He says, even to me, you should dedicate merit. So here, in some ways it's saying, even Buddhas and Gurus, who from our perspective, with Buddhas, not just our perspective, they are complete, have reached the destination. For our Gurus, which we perceive as perfect, right, for our own training, even that, we should dedicate merit to both of these groups. Why? Because they, in a way, right, they are at a level where they have more power and effect, and positive effect on sentient beings. So when we dedicate merit and we say, may the wishes and the vows of the Buddhas and our gurus be fulfilled as quickly and swiftly. Then that way, right, the little merit that we have accumulated again can be magnified. It's like a type of interdependence. Right? Just as we say during this Sagadawa, during this Chotu Duchen period, if we create merit and link it with this intention, with this awareness, with this understanding, this is Chotu Duchen season, may this, benefit beings, may it free them from suffering, take them to Buddhahood. When we do this, this act of virtue is magnified 360 million times. That's the number given, right? And we don't have to be so literal. It means a lot, right? So likewise, when we dedicate merit, if we dedicate merit to, may the noble wishes, may the bodhisattva vow of all bodhisattvas be fulfilled quickly and swiftly. May our gurus, achieve the Vajra state quickly and swiftly. May the Buddhas, right, of their past aspirations be fulfilled more swiftly. So in that sense, you could say it's not literally that we are dedicating merit to the Buddhas, but we're dedicating merit to the Buddha activities. So in that sense, it's actually dedicating merit to those sentient beings that needs still to be helped, to be assisted by the Buddhas. So this is a very special method that Jigten Sumgon taught, that we should also dedicate merit to the Buddhas and to our gurus. Yeah. Speaking of that, now we dedicate merit. Please turn to the opening, the recitation now, page 10 of that opening. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana and the inherent root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara, and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers. And may all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstructors who harm, those who create obstacles, maras who mislead, and their mara retinues, have happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment. With my mind stream moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta, may I come under the care of virtuous spiritual friends, and having become as limitless as space, may I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, And by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. You will notice that here Kyobpa Rinpoche's dedication prayer use very similar words that he also uses for us to generate bodhicitta. Because generating bodhicitta and dedication of merit is really two sides of the same coin. One is something that you do at the beginning in order to provide the right context for what we do. And then the other one at the end to seal, to complete our practice by bringing it back to the fundamental point of practicing the two bodhicittas, relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. Also in this dedication prayer, it shows us, what we really mean when we say we dedicate merit. Because there are many, many different types of dedicating merit. Yeah, like I said earlier, you could dedicate merit to rather useless things. And then when we're desperate, we do that. I do that, may I get well soon, may I not, have this pain, may I not have this problem. We do that, But here it's teaching us to more and more be really concerned about the meaningful things to be concerned about and not to be concerned with the useless things that we get concerned about. It's about shifting priorities. The shifting of priorities, we cannot pretend to have shifted when we have not. Even if you say, I want to be a good Buddhist, I want to look like a good person, I want to look good, I'm so inspired, but it cannot be forced. If your priorities are still not shifting in the direction of Buddhahood, that doesn't make you a bad person. That just makes you, like all of us, stuck in our confusion, not growing enough yet. So then we just put effort into it. Guilt, completely useless in this context, completely useless. You cannot guilt yourself into becoming a better practitioner. But many of us, carry that kind of guilt because of past baggage, growing up where, parents, church, society, ourselves somehow, have been under the influence of guilt and also using guilt to get other people to give us what we want, So we have used guilt to manipulate each other until now we're stuck with it, But guilt, at least in my experience, is not a good motivating factor for us. It's not impossible, it's not impossible, but most of the time not useful. Instead, if we can see, if we can put more effort in seeing, how much of a relief it is when I do practice the Dharma, when I do kind of shift my perspective that, oh my gosh, those things I used to worry about, they're completely pointless and useless to worry about. These other things, like these afflictive emotions, oh yes, I should pay more attention to that, I should be more concerned that the afflictive emotions are dragging me around. Then I should be concerned about, these things that happen in the course of daily life. When we begin to appreciate, like, oh wow, taking real concern about here, and the bliss, the good feeling that arises that is not based on sense experiences. When that kind of satisfaction arises, we say, this is really the fruit of practicing Dharma. I should want more of this. And out of like wanting more of this, so sometimes it's said, that in the greater vehicle, we emphasize the use of desire. So now desiring the satisfaction that is not based on sense experiences. Then they say in the lesser vehicle, what we use there is aversion. Now, aversion towards what? Aversion towards suffering. So we should use both, attachment and aversion in a skillful way. Aversion towards the causes of suffering, attachment, so to say, or wanting the causes of happiness. So in this way, lesser vehicle, great vehicle becomes one single practice. So knowing when, right, to use aversion towards the causes of suffering and the experience of suffering, and saying, no more, enough, cut. Then attachment, so to say, being attached to, so to say, right? The satisfaction that comes from the Dharma that we apply, that free us from being dragged around by our kleshas, by our mental defilements, that kind of satisfaction. Oh, I want more of that. So that's the skillful use of attachment and the skillful use of aversion. Then we become better and better at knowing what to take up and what to put down. Oftentimes, we don't know what to take up and what to put down. Then we create a big mess for ourselves and for others. So we will stop here today.